And there we go. Hi, hello everyone. Sorry for once again a moved stream. So we're live on Wednesday this week with the tavern, and with me is often, not always, but is Santiago, aka Zuller. Hi.
Hello. How are you
Hope
doing, guys?
yeah. How is everyone? How are you?
I have some funny stories that I can tell to the people.
Yeah, like microwaved coffee, which we've been just chatting about.
uh, so I will put it in words of my girlfriend. She says that everything around me is breaking, and there's a reason behind that. So
We want to know all about this.
yes.
But before we get into this, we have a surprise guest, and it's actually not a guest. She's like the owner of this place, but she hasn't been here in a while. So welcome back, Olga. Hey.
Hello. Oh, I'm blending in with the stream background. Okay, looks very seamless. Looks very sleek. Hello, everybody. It's been a good while. Also for a lot of good reasons. Maybe I will share my crazy stories as well. But yeah, happy
Oh,
to
you
be
have a very
back.
crazy story to tell, actually.
Oh, if only it was just this one. But yeah, good to be
Okay.
back.
Now we want to hear all the crazy stories. Before we get into all kinds of questions, people can still warm up, right? So, yeah, why don't you share a few stories? And Olga, specifically, what have you been up to? Because I think last people saw your face on stream. I don't know how long that was, but
Oh
it
yeah, that
feels like
was a while ago.
years.
Yeah. So long story short, things have been super busy on the Playmind front, right? And that's why my streaming time has considerably reduced. But I am looking forward to getting back into the skin of the game, so to speak, with gaming streams, with educational stuff that I think I will revamp a little bit, get other people involved as well. But yeah, there's gonna be a separate time to talk about that, and hopefully you will see the results of that brainstorming very soon. But on a more personal update note, and this here comes the craziest story. Why I haven't been streaming lately specifically is that first of all, your girl's found herself an upgrade and moved it to a fantastic new flat with a riverside view and all of that. The
Still in
only thing,
Berlin.
still in Berlin, but like away from the places where people set pigeons on fire and try to fight trash cans. Those kind of amazing, fantastic areas. And not even a month in, there was a fire in the flat. So for the past 3 months already, Jesus Christ, we my partner, my cat, and I, we've been sort of stranded outside of our home, and my equipment is now contaminated. So hopefully, this is also going to get fixed soon, and we can get back on the roll.
Do you know what was the cause of the fire?
Yes, the dishwasher that
Oh my
we
god.
fixed a couple of days prior to that, specifically because it produced this burning smell and paid 300 euros for it.
Oh my god.
So
Mm-hmm.
they fixed it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So at least I hope their insurance is paying for all that crap now.
Well, it's a long process, but at the very least, yeah,
Oh my god.
the refurbishments are almost done. So hopefully by the end of the month we'll be able to move back.
So your $100,000 necklace with diamonds was lost in there, right? For the insurance.
Yes, and all of the like
And the stick with the private key to the Bitcoin.
there's that plus
Satoshi's wallet was there.
all of the RTX 50s that we bought for the PC upgrades, all of that is gone. But jokes aside, there were some like custom-made Japanese fishing rods suffering in the
No.
fire. So good luck to the repair service,
Oh my
their
god.
insurance paying for all of that, because that's yeah.
Oh my god.
So there's that. I did save the Picasso Prince Paradox, not to worry. I saved both the Picasso and our recent acquisition in the arts department before the fire, the copy of Bold and Brash for SpongeBob, this iconic artwork.
That's what you think about when you run out of your burning apartment, right?
Exactly.
That's the two
Exactly.
things I need to save.
Yes.
Next to your cat, obviously.
Of course, the little guy is safe and sound. Nobody got hurt, no health repercussions or anything. Just yes, this massive thing to deal with still.
Yeah, that's crazy. So good luck with moving back into your apartment.
Is the apartment ready, or you still have to wait a little bit?
No, we still have to wait. So the kitchen, well, where the fire started, that is ready. But because most of the damage came from the valiant fireman brigade with all of the water and whatnot, the floors need to be replaced in the living room. And since we have floor heating there, it's again long process.
One of you two should switch your notifications off, or at least the bell
It's
sound
me.
that it
Sorry,
makes.
sorry.
I'm used to hearing your dogs, but not
I'm
this.
hearing my tab.
Nah, I'm always like, this is on do not disturb, everything is on silent. That's what the headphones are for.
So they're breaking something else now. Probably that's why you're getting notifications. So any more crazy stories, Olga, that you want to share apart from those?
Oh my god.
I don't think so. At least nothing really comes to mind, but I don't know. I feel like I'm getting too much of that stuff. I always get unlucky with things like that, but
You're a disaster magnet.
I am a disaster magnet, yes, in a way. Two things that I'm thinking like of a decent way to monetize my personal presence is a targeted disaster, right? So you hire me to go somewhere where you want something bad to happen, and then targeted kind of IRL user acquisition, I guess, because I've noticed that wherever I go, it could be a pharmacy, it could be a cafe, anywhere. Within minutes, there could be absolutely no one in there. Deserted, desolated place. Within minutes after me, people start pouring in like crazy. I'm like, how do I make money out of this?
I'm sure that's against the Geneva Convention.
You know that song by Darwin Dees, Bad Day? Every day ought to be a bad day for you, right? So if you basically you can get hired as a bad day producer by basically just creating these disasters.
Sort of, yeah, exactly. I come with my own warning tags. The dogs are rowdy.
As
Yeah,
always, no stream without that. They're being jealous of Santiago's attention, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to see that my guy is somewhat quiet, but that's good. Get by and play. Hopefully you will start a trend, says Webby. Man, that's the thing. It only works with IRL locations, with something physical. So
Well, go to a bar or a cafe and start buying play. Everybody's gonna go, hey, what is the cool thing that you're doing there? Everybody's gonna start doing that.
Yeah. No, I should start going to places wearing a t-shirt with a large QR code that just points to, I don't know, Deck Screener, Radium, wherever. Bike.
No, that just automatically signs a transaction to buy 10 million play.
Yeah, or that. That would be cool.
Or CoinGecko, because we're listed on CoinGecko as of today. It's not 100% complete.
Listed, yeah, no. That's why I'm also not in the rush to kind of broadcast it, because half the things that were supposed to be there are not there, and we're just like, guys, what the hell?
Let's not talk about it until we fix it.
Nah,
Yeah.
come on. You need to be more. People will find it anyway, right?
They will. I just do not. I want our digital footprint to be impeccable.
I get that.
Doggy.
Yeah, it's the
Hello.
only way I can get him away from barking.
Shut up.
Okay, Santiago. So you wanted to share some crazy stories apart from your coffee
Yes.
going cold, right? And we
Okay.
had this kind of little discussion about is it better to drink cold coffee or microwave coffee? And to me, I immediately had this picture of literally having a stale beer or let's say a soda, right? Standing in front of you for the whole day. And then you put it back in the fridge to freshen up. So this is what it feels like to warm up coffee in the microwave. But anyway, that wasn't a crazy story. What's going on? Like, and what's going on with Dungeon Master? Why do you keep breaking it?
Okay, so I can tell you what I break this weekend in my life. First, I went bowling. It was very nice. I went with my friends. It was 9 p.m. and I had to go. I had my car on the second sub level. So I went over, I tried to turn it on, and it didn't work. So that's when the problem started, because my car wasn't turning on. And I was like, yeah, okay, we can take it to the mechanic and he can try to figure it out. But for you to tow it, we weren't able to do it because it was on the second sub level. So I actually had to get like 6 of the wards the next day to help me out, push the car all over the 2 sub levels so we can get it outside the mall. And you can imagine ourselves pushing the car with all the people behind, all the cars running to get out, and we were pushing like push, and trying to get it out. Once we got it out, there was like a 5K or 10K race, so the toll wasn't able to move. So we had to wait for like 3 hours for the race to finish for it to move my car. And
Man.
now that we did all of that, the clutch, do you call it clutch? The transmission is broken. So I have to wait like 45 days for them to bring the new materials and everything from the US for my car to be fixed.
So you're driving a US car.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Actually, it was one of the worst decisions in my life. That car is definitely one of the worst decisions I have ever done.
USA.
And you probably bought it pre the Donald Trump second era.
I mean, I bought it from someone that brought the car from the US, and I thought it was an amazing deal. But I didn't know that, of course, if you bought a car that is not very common, then there is not going to be any kind of replacement materials immediately.
True. Man, that sounded almost like a Top Gear episode when they were doing supercars in Rome, I think. And because they typically have this super low suspension, they couldn't get out of the parking space.
Yeah,
scratch the whole damn thing off. Excuse me, but yeah.
Japanese Honda. That's great, actually. We can airship you something. That will be great, man. But yeah, we have to wait. So that's why my girlfriend was logging at me, because I broke the dungeon broke. My PC was broken. I told you about it. Then someone broke my telephone.
Oh
and
yeah.
Now my phone is broken. My car is broken. So I have to make some kind of ritual to kind of remove all the bad vibes. Get them away from me.
Yeah, you need some cleansing.
Exactly.
Cleansing. Yeah, we call it limpia here.
Exactly.
What do you do? Do you just like burn sage and walk around with it?
Something similar, actually. Yeah.
No.
And they drink ayahuasca and they spit at you.
We have a ritual to cleanse it. Just say that you're doing bad trips, man.
But you do drink it. You don't just spit it out. You do like take it in.
No, the person doing the cleansing to you is the one that like drinks it and then spits at you.
Yeah, but you're supposed to somehow consume them. Take that in through the.
Yeah. I mean, there's a separate ritual with ayahuasca in which you have to go starving for like a day, then you drink the ayahuasca, then you puke for the whole day, and then you start to hallucinate. That's part of the ayahuasca ritual by itself, but it's not part of the cleansing.
And somehow people still doubt that humanity evolved because we were tripping balls. I think it explains everything.
I stopped by Unicorn Cars. I had a BW that was B10. Oh, B10. 18 weeks. Oh my god, that's a lot.
Dang. Yeah.
Well,
Cars.
I like V-dubs. I don't drive one, but I drive a Czech car, Skoda, and they have been very, very reliable so far.
Which car do you drive?
I have a Skoda Superb
Nice.
station wagon. You know, I'm German. we have to drive station wagons. Like the Germans are crazy about station wagons, and I would always buy a station wagon again. You know, it's like with the kids, and you pack stuff, and you can put so many things in it. We were really amazed when we actually moved from Germany to Portugal. We drove with 2 station wagons full of stuff, right? And it was a lot of stuff that you can pack into 2 of those. So it's actually pretty good.
Okay, nice.
Exactly. Skoda is a bit cheaper and the bigger. It's like the same platform. It's basically the same parts, except for the outside, for the skin. Yes, it's a reskinned V-dub. And the Superb is not only better, but it's also a little bit bigger than the Passat. So,
Oh my god, are you taking a look at Hyperliquid?
no, not that.
I just got the alarms that it just broke all-time high again.
Why wouldn't it?
No, I mean, that's great. I love it.
Let's pause the stream so
You can
Santiago
celebrate
can...
this. When you buy a Halo level car, parts available can be hard. What's a Halo level?
I just got music in my head immediately. Come on, no Halo players? That's sad.
No. I also didn't enjoy the series. I tried watching it. But it was
That's trash. Nobody should have enjoyed that. Even John Berthal himself did not enjoy that. Nobody enjoyed it. It's like the typical reaction in Bethesda games. Like everyone disliked that. So this is not it. But the games are great.
Yeah, when it first came out and it was Xbox exclusive, I believe, it was already over for me. This kind of ruined the whole thing because I've never liked Xbox. So it's like, nah, I'm not touching this.
No, you can play everywhere now.
But Atlas Drawers actually subbed for 30 months. So Atlas Drawers has been subscribed for 31 months. It's crazy. That's definitely a record.
Yes.
And thanks for the gift to Vince.
Nice. By the way, Prince Paradox, are you going to NFT NYC?
No, I would like to first be back home before I go anywhere else.
Oh, but that was I think Santiago's question was to Prince.
To Prince, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be right back. You guys keep discussing. I'll be right back.
I am close enough. We can meet. Actually, I'm going to NFT NYC. I'd love to meet you.
That's the thing. That's what I also was wondering because I monitor their X account regularly, and there was still no Zoller post. What's up?
There was one.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, then. Well, I missed it. Sorry.
I'll share it. I'll share it.
Please do.
Nancy says, Sarah, keeps popping every time I open the game. Staking on staking, everything is affected. EOS blend doesn't work either. Am I the only one facing this? No, you're not the only one facing this. We're aware of it. The issue is we're looking to provide a long-term fix to this. So right now, while we work in the fix, we have to do some stuff that feels like we are placing patches on top of the stuff that we know that is broken until we manage to deploy the fix. I don't think we will have the fix ready by this season. I know that this season has been a nightmare for both for you and for me because and for the dev team because everything broke. We didn't have the solutions at first, so right now we're placing patches. And the idea that we are handling right now is to take 2 to 3 weeks off season to fix all the issues, to deploy leaks, to implement play into the game loop, for example, for the shop, for the candy, and to have everything ready for the next season. All of this, we do it and we plan it to avoid giving you a bad experience for the next season, because the next season will be a huge one.
Ooh, is
I
that
thought-
an official teaser?
Yeah, for leaks, we haven't talked much about it because there's not much yet to show until we have the front end and the user interface ready. But on the back end, we are doing a lot of fixes and implementing a lot of stuff for leaks to work.
Okay.
So is that an official announcement already that you're saying start of season, what's it gonna be? Oh my goodness, 26
26.
is gonna be delayed?
Yes.
You can treat that as official information.
The thing is, I was. Oh my god. Hyperliquid.
Just muted, man.
Yes, I don't know how to mute them because it is from the Creating View app. Wait. Okay. What was I talking about?
Is that an official
Season
announcement?
26.
First thing.
Yes,
Start.
the thing is, I am looking. 2 weeks we are going to take, anyways. But I want to see if we take three weeks by itself or 2 weeks, and then we have 1 week to test the leaks. So we implement like a 25.5 season, just to check out how the leaks behave. Because one thing is trying to test the stuff on the staging with 1 to 10 users, and the other significant change is to test it out with 10,000 users that we have. There's stuff that might break with 10,000 users that might not break with 10 users running at the same time.
Not might, will.
Well, yeah.
All right.
I don't know how to mute it. What?
As if you're doing this the first time.
Headphones.
Wait. Ah,
Nah.
Just mute the browser tab.
I'm trying.
It's okay.
I did it,
Let-
but it didn't
Or
work.
use headphones,
Yeah,
for God's sakes.
I can try to use headphones actually.
Okay.
But it is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we?
Because I connected. Perfect.
What's a Twitch VIP badge? Olga, you probably know about this.
Twitch
Vince's-
VIP badge. It's been 84 years. No.
So it seems like
Man.
Webby has something that others should have as well.
The pink with the streamer, Wombat streamer that we did
The
with
2024 one.
yeah, like a diamond. I mean, sure thing. Twitch VIP badge. No, the pink diamond is great. Looks like the Pink Panther. I don't understand why we didn't go with that angle when it first appeared. With like a wombat instead of the panther.
A pink wombat.
Yeah, that's sneaking around. And being
Now
mischievous.
I have I have the Pink Panther jingle in my head.
You're welcome.
But that is probably something that Mad, aka Bernardo, can take care of this
Yep,
thing.
My hair
it
looks weird.
is. All right, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, gentlewomen.
Yes.
Gentleman.
Should we move on with the questions?
For
'Cause
sure.
I think we've got a couple. There's Sigistas asking about MoonPay. What exactly about MoonPay?
MoonPay is unavailable through Wombat right now, and that is or has been. I honestly I didn't get an update. I was actually assuming that this would have been it because we submitted everything that was necessary for that, but it seems like it wasn't. So we'll have to revisit that. I'm sorry. I should have probably kept track of this, but since I wasn't doing the process. Yeah, I'll have to check. Maybe I'll get an answer before the end of the stream.
The pink stars are falling. What's that?
I have no idea. So then we have an Antidote is asking when EOS to Vault on Atomic Hub. Not sure. Didn't we discuss it on stream at some point as well, Santiago?
Not really. We discussed it a lot with Vince also last time on the chat with PM last Friday.
Okay, so do you want to take this? What's your stance on this?
So right now, it will take some dev effort to do this change of EOS to Vault on Atomic Hub.
Not just some, but some significant, because
Some significant effort and some
it's also-
significant time.
it's also
we have
configured in the smart contract, right? So we can't
Yes.
just change these kinds of things very
We
easily.
have also realized that the only volume that we get, well, we knew that already. The only volume that we get on EOS side from Atomic Assets is our collections, which is not also a significant volume. Like if you see right now, maybe I guess the top collection will have a 60 EOS volume for the 24 hours. So it's
So what does
also a
it mean?
matter of being cost effective. Right now we have a lot of things going on and a lot of things we can allocate our depths that we know that are a priority and that will be a better use of the depth time and our money.
I
So
mean-
at the moment we are
So
not
what's the
actively.
alternative?
Sorry.
What's the alternative to migrating from EOS to A, essentially, for
They can
Atomic
still
Hub?
use EOS to buy stuff. And right now the migration is you can also place some use Alcor to change back to EOS from A. Back and forth. You can try to do that. That's the current alternative that you have. But
that's not going to go on forever, right? Right now, I
Yes.
think you can also do the swap from EOS to A. You can go that backwards through the official portal, I believe.
I don't know if it goes backwards from the official
At
portal.
least I was told that it is, but maybe I'm wrong.
Only until September. Yes, I knew that.
Exactly, but then after September, so if we don't find a solution to migrate to A or to Volta, what's your opinion on this, Thiago?
It's really hard to say something on stream because I have noticed it that whenever we talk about something or we give ideas, people go crazy. So I'll
Suffering from success.
No, people go crazy. Like they say, yeah, they said they will do that. For example, the last time we were discussing, yeah, maybe we should change or tweak a little bit on the mining power. People say, hey, why are you changing the mining power? When are you going to do that? And I was like, yeah, we just discussed about it. It was just an idea. So I agree with what Prince Paradox said, that Volta is banking and it doesn't make sense for us to keep moving or keep providing support to a banking stream if that's the way and that's the path they want to follow. In any case, any decision we take with time, we will make you know, and we always try to not we want to make the best decision for you guys and for us, like we always do.
There we go.
So nothing official yet.
So that's how you say nothing without saying that you
In
said
a lot
nothing.
of words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't tell you yet.
Well, I mean, if Eve wants to give us a gazillion monies, we can figure
I'm not
something out.
sure who else would be actually interested in NFTs on EOS or Volta.
That's well, a different thing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just sort of spitballing here and talking absolute nonsense, but isn't there some sort of an intersection between RW, like collateralized RWAs or something like that? I mean, I do agree that it's easier to just use a fungible token for those purposes, but
Depending on what it is in terms of RWAs, right? NFTs might actually be really good for that. If you want to tokenize a house, then this should not be a fungible token, right? Except if you want to tokenize kind of shares in the house, right? So you might actually do that in NFTs. Then obviously a different question is, can you sell a house just by selling an NFT? No, you can't. Okay, so my example of a house was maybe a little bit stupid, but it could be stuff like what Courtyard are doing on Polygon, right? Cards, Pokemon, Magic, whatever, trading cards, physical trading cards.
They're great.
These are fine as NFTs, right? Because no two ones are the same. So that's cool. Just if that was a thing, then we should be seeing some NFTs on the EOS/Volta network, right? And maybe they're then atomic assets, maybe they're not. I have no idea. So the question obviously is, if we were to kind of see support for EOS NFTs, then what would that look like, right? Would there be a bridge, has been suggested here by Master Shin? Can we bridge the EOS stuff off? Just go somewhere else. Go to Polygon, go to Wax, go to Atomic Hub, go to Base or wherever, right? We'll have to see.
indeed. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, we did start at least partially moving off some stuff to Wax over a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that's
Yeah, I mean,
not so far fetched. But yeah,
we moved away the NFT rewards, right? We moved from
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Is that
we
like
moved-
this find the bowl games with 3 cups? Where it is right now.
Who's talking?
Yeah.
It's okay.
So yeah, we moved from the village to the, what was it called? Wombat Realms to Gamer Cave
Yeah.
for the kind of game reward NFTs, but that was it, right?
That is so cute. Look
This?
at that.
Oh, you do the clicking,
Okay. I do
because
think
when
nice.
people try and do that, it's not going to work. But yeah, it's very cute.
I got excited seeing the NFTs of Wombat Prime collection the other day. Oh,
Oh,
that's so sweet. But nah.
So-
Yeah, long story short, like Santiago said, it needs to make sense. It needs to kind of not inconvenience you guys, but also we have to prioritize where we put that work.
So you could say the low volume. Oh, you can reply to that. if you
yeah.
want to.
I think it's a very interesting point, because you're totally right, Vince. The low volume on EOS chain side was also contributed by ourselves. We kind of killed a Wombat Realms and Wombat Extra. That's true. However, this was not just a decision that we took out of hi, we want to do this. This was mostly related to the ridiculous RAM prices on EOS, right? So we basically couldn't afford doing this. I mean, let's face it. With the volumes that we've had, even before we quote unquote killed Wombat Realms and Wombat Extra, and we replaced that with a wax collection. Uh, anything that we do on EOS has not been profitable, if we want to use that term, right? Or let's say lucrative from a commercial perspective, right? Because there's just so little going on in terms of end consumer gaming, NFT, or whatever things, right? That,
Yeah.
as Santiago said, the only volume that ever is being run on Atomic Hub on EOS is you people, right? The people who play games and who trade these NFTs, and Wombat users essentially. So that's it. And if that's the case, then we could do that anywhere, right? We could do that on any chain, right? Because there's no benefit of being on EOS right at this stage. Originally, there was benefit on being on EOS because it was very cheap to mint NFTs, so we could mint a lot of NFTs, and it was very kind of user friendly, right? But nowadays, that's not the case anymore. So we should probably just make a conscious decision to go one way or another, and either we have reasons for why we want to keep supporting EOS and Volta specifically going forward, right? Because we think that there is kind of also a commercial angle, or we will have to find a solution for how we can deal with not doing this, right?
Yeah.
I agree with everything you just said. There was also a comment I wanted to.
Switching the 50k chest from EOS to Wax was not a good move. Why would you think that, Rising Dragons? Just curious.
I mean, I do distinctly also. Oh, there you go.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a little bit of a trip down the memory lane, because this was also one of the questions that I asked when you and I had our first call, Adrian, just over the phone. I was like, why EOS? It just works. Okay. It's good.
Yeah, from an end user perspective, it just works, right? And back then, Wax was not in the place where it's been later, right? So it would have taken a lot of effort to move everything elsewhere, right? Now everything is not as much anymore as it used to be. So, but it's cool because as Santiago said earlier, us basically just discussing this obviously stirs a lot of questions and a lot of maybe doubt around what's going to happen to your assets and so on, right? So that's what's good, but also not good about even following a thought trail like this on stream is that you can't put the genie back in the bottle once you've said something, right? And now everyone will start worrying about, okay, if you do that, then what happens with our NFTs? There has been no decision, right? Let's just keep that record straight. There has been no decision that we're moving away from EOS or whatever. But if so, we'll find a solution that works for you.
Exactly.
So yeah, in not corporate terms, we don't want to fuck with you. So actually, we will find a way to make it up for you, replace the NFTs, move them to Wax, move them to Solana, and we will find a way. But that's why I didn't want to give you guys the solution, because if I say something, then you will be like, hey, you said you will do this. But actually I will do, and Adrian and I will take the decision based on what is most convenient for you and for us. Maybe we don't have the solution right now, and maybe you guys can also help us to find out the solution. Because
yeah,
it's
we just
also a matter of what you want. Go ahead, sorry.
God damn it. Those pauses is so misleading. No, I just wanted to say that we're kind of trying to put our perspective in the line of thinking out there, right? It doesn't mean that this is where the final executive decisions are being made and whatnot. we hear your perspective. We want to talk about your perspective, and we also want to bring our own to the table. So there's that. Let's move on to the next
Did
question, I guess.
anyone want to answer this from Hacking Self? You put it up, Santiago? Or did you want to,
Yes.
was that, did you mean for me to
I
actually answer?
forgot what I was going to say. I mean, right now EOS is going on a very different direction. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad. I guess they are trying to survive in this market, and so they need to do this rebranding and try to find their own niche. So that's what they are doing right now. This niche of banking obviously doesn't involve NFTs, so it makes sense for them like to do all these RAM changes and everything from their point of view. Of course, this messes a lot with us, so that's why it doesn't make sense to keep providing support to a chain that is going on a very different path than the one we're taking. Even if it is a good path, we don't know it yet. If it is good or bad, the banking approach they are taking, the implementation they want to do with Bitcoin. In my opinion, they are too late to do this because there's companies that have been doing it for the last 2 years. But we will see. That was my reply.
Santiago's opinions are his own.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very salty to EOS since they broke the IVC. That's the moment everything changed for me inside. They did some stuff, they didn't communicate properly about it. When they were aware that it was going to break, they said, hey, but Wax just has to upgrade to LEAP. But it costs a significant amount of money. So you should do it if you want the IVC to be fixed, but it's like forcing them to do stuff that it shouldn't be forced because the Antelope Coalition paid for the IVC breach and everything.
Yeah. Good old days.
I thought Volta and EOS were functionally the same thing. Technically, yes, it's still the same network, right? But there is a lot of a difference in how you position this from a kind of how it's being used perspective, right? So like whatever, say Immutable, right? Good example is positioned as a gaming blockchain, Immutable zkVM, right? So that everything moves, everything gaming related should use this or whatever. So by nature, they will not be focusing in terms of technical development, but also in terms of ecosystem development. They will not be focusing a lot on, let's say, DeFi infrastructure or whatever it is, right? And for EOS, this should be the other way around. There should be more projects, more applications, and more usage coming up for anything banking, DeFi, whatever related, going down the line. And that's even if if technically it's possible to use, just like you remember the Steam blockchain, right? Or then later it forked and it's now, oh God, what's it called now? The fork of Steam. Anyway, Hive, exactly, the Hive blockchain. You can do like the first version of Splinterlands when it was called Steam Monsters, right? That had kind of NFTs on Steam, and it had a lot of things going on chain and so on. You can use it for that, but long term, it's just not meant. Like the blockchain is not meant to be used for that. So maybe there's easier ways of doing the same thing on a different chain, right? Because there's more support for things. So that's where the difference actually comes into effect properly.
It was also related to the previous run. It was all about GameFi. So all the chains were like, hey, we're the perfect home for gaming. Now no one cares about gaming. So, hey, now we're the perfect place for Bitcoin or the perfect place for trading meme coins. And the next cycle, it will be, I don't know what it will be. But yeah, EOS will be, hey, we're the perfect home for this now. So that's it.
Yes, everyone pivots to what kind of makes sense for them. long term, I mean, I don't think it's really possible to think in this space long term. At least not for the time being. But yeah,
It's part of what every company does, even outside of blockchain. With all this AI, now they are like, hey, we're implementing AI, but our business is selling apples. Yeah, I mean, you can do that because it's popular, but it doesn't mean it will work.
yeah, or that it's gonna make anything better in that sense.
Pivot enough, and you're back to where you started.
Yes.
Says Prince Paradox, and that's true.
Yeah, I love it when people in all sorts of marketing materials use this as some sort of a powerful messaging, like a full 360 turnaround. Man,
360, exactly.
yeah, no scope.
What happened with Splinterlands? Is it still around?
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I mean they're doing stuff. It's just that how do I put that? It's they've already made it somewhat challenging for themselves because generally deck builders is a very saturated gaming space now, and in Web3 there are a lot of them, right? So
But it was very cool when it first
it
launched. It was
was,
very unique.
especially with the shards mechanic for the compounding dark crystals, whatnot. No, it was really great.
Which chain are the NFTs on nowadays for Splinterlands? I have no idea.
No idea.
Haven't played it for so long. Last packs I bought
Right.
were still on wax.
Avax. Oh, Avalanche is trying to do. Yeah, I would say Avalanche is trying to do some stuff with gaming still.
I mean, obviously, but it's still difficult because, and that's what I don't like about subnets, side chains, whatever you want to call them. It always makes it more difficult in terms of user experience, right? So with Avalanche inherently, because every game or every gaming ecosystem has their own subnet, it's always going to be hey, you first have to bridge tokens over there in order to use it, and then you have a different gas token and whatnot. And the advantages of that are very, very limited. But the disadvantage is that for every user, you have to go through a lot of hoops, right? So I don't know. It's still on Hive.
This is
Wow.
something I wanted to show you, and I think I showed all that the other day. Where is it?
I'm trying to
it's
remember
post from Star
frankly now.
Platinum, the one of all the companies and Web3 game
Oh,
studios
yeah.
that are gone. I'm
Yeah,
surprised to see to take a look at this list.
why? I mean,
I
the
mean, for example,
mainstream gaming industry has been bleeding since November 2023. Why would we be any different?
yeah, but Naya Heroes, they had like 15 million in funding, if I'm not wrong. Valerie
They
Studios, I remember them, they were great, and they are gone. So I don't know. Sad.
Yan Heroes failed to secure the last funding round, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on this, but I
Mhm.
read their announcement. The long story short is that, generally speaking, VCs, be it Web3 gaming, mainstream gaming, whatnot, they do not see the opportunity in it for an explosive growth like it has been doing for the previous decade, right? So there's just no money. You can do all sorts of really amazing play tests and what have you, right? But you're not going to get that because all of those angel investors and VCs are pivoting to AI related stuff. This is just the sad reality of things. Everyone wants money.
But there's crazy names on this. Crazy. It's like metalcore. Wow.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
but
one
that's
of, when I first saw metalcore at NFT NYC. I don't know, must have been 3 years ago, 4 years ago already. I was like, oh, I want this, right? And then I saw them the year after, and it was like, yeah, when? What? I want this. And now they're gone. What? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, no, a lot of studios are closing left and right, and it really doesn't matter like, how good you look and whatnot. It's just really hard to convince the investors to put their money in that. That being on top of games generally as products, as a business, taking much longer time to build and more people, because the standards of quality has have risen considerably. So
It
there
is
we
a
are.
very competitive space, and I
Yep.
mean, we knew that, right?
Yeah.
Gaming in and of itself is very competitive. Web3 gaming has become very competitive nowadays because there's still such a small audience that actually plays them, right? So you compete for the same small type of audience. Well, it's crazy.
I have a question for the guys and for everyone that wants to participate. Which would you say is the best Web3 game right now,
Oh.
or a top three?
All right, top three. But no, Prince Paradox is actually bringing up a very, very solid and good point, because we're also mid-generation right now, right? So many of the games that, well, had the hope of at least to get some pushes, exclusives and whatnot on the next console generation and so on and so forth, they're being canned simply because it's mid-cycle, right? But I don't know. I think we will be kind of moving away gradually from this whole generation stuff. Sony is going to cling to it, like like there's no tomorrow for sure. But Xbox, they started the Everything is an Xbox campaign last November. Yeah, and I think they're just going to move into cloud gaming, and none of that will matter really.
If and when cloud gaming actually becomes
Off the
the
grid.
thing.
Off the grid is
Well,
good.
yeah, off the grid. Um, off the grid, I I think there's a large part of its appeal as this sort of a super polished Call of Duty style Web3 game too, which is in itself impressive. I'm just really afraid that this is going to fall prey to the exact deck builder inflation that I was telling about, because everyone's trying to do an extraction shooter now.
Yeah, that's the problem. And also, if you can play Call of Duty, why would you play off the grid?
That's a valid point, unless you're at least somewhat familiar with Web3 and the benefits that it brings. So,
But then,
but
I mean,
then
it's
what?
cool, right? It's cool to have Web3 stuff.
It is. It's just not the default frame of mind that people usually approach
Prince
gaming
has
with.
it figured out.
I mean, fair enough. Again, a typical normie would not do that.
COD
This
is
won't be
what.
fun.
This is a very interesting.
Reskin of a game, yeah.
Oh, okay. 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 Um, then there
You
was
know, I
this.
used to play competitive Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty. I had a team and everything. I was like in the
You never
top
mentioned
Dang.
this.
150 globally.
I thought you're into League of Legends and
Yeah, I had my seasons with League of Legends and with Call of Duty.
wow.
Okay. I mean,
Just for everyone that is new to the stream and that might not have heard at the beginning, Santiago have the dev team able to identify the ongoing error issues and have a fix for it. It's coming 2 weeks for now since the issue exploded. Yes, we know about the issue. We have identified it. We are trying to deploy a long-term solution for it. The problem is we cannot do it as you guys expect, like instantly. We have to work a little bit on it for it to be like reliable. So right now, what we're doing is every time the game breaks, it feels like we're placing patches on it. The goal is for the season to end, and we can enter a maintenance period of at least 2 weeks for us to fix all the ongoing issues that we have.
And I don't want to I don't even want to bring it up, but it's interesting because we're running into rate limiting, and I mean the problem is not a rate limit, right? Because the rate limits have been in there for a long time. The problem is that we're basically getting quote unquote DDoSed by the game or by some people abusing it constantly, right? Um, so that's it's never been as bad as it is now because we haven't changed these rate limits in a long while.
Yes.
But basically, when you get an error, right, you get a 500, and sometimes it says something about rate limits actually, and that this will be reset in blah blah blah, right? You can obviously try again, but every single click will make it worse, right? So you'll basically by reloading the screen very often, or trying to be more active,
Yes.
or to retrying more often, you'll make the situation worse. Not as a single kind of user, right? That's not a problem. A single user cannot break this, single player, but jointly, when there's a lot of people basically seeing an error about rate limits and basically retrying, then that will mean that a lot of people won't get through because there's again going to be a rate limit reset, right? And that's already going to be filled up because there's a portion of the rate limit um, is always taken up by some bots, apparently, right? That basically take up a lot of these rate limits, and we have them in order to protect our infrastructure, right? Because if we didn't have them, it would basically just kill the infrastructure, right? There would be an overload on all the respective nodes or whatever infrastructure we're using. So that's why. So I'm not telling you to stop playing, right? Not at all. It's just that whenever I see that myself, and that sometimes obviously happens for us as well, then I always think, okay, don't click, don't make it worse. So just to kind of.
Can we just stop the game then? Yes. I mean, that's the idea. We just need to go over the week. I mean, there's 7 days left in the season, and then we're entering a maintenance period.
I don't know if people want a normal people speak explanation. Allow me to attempt that. Imagine that you and your friends really love going to one burger joint, right? And how it usually goes in the burger joint, because it's relatively small-ish. You go in a line, you order, you move forward, and then this is what you get. So what's happening is this burger joint started having an employee discount of sorts on top of the usual offers, and now it's being swarmed by regular people, employees who have days off and whatnot, and everyone is just trying to get in. So that's kind of my take on that. But yeah.
What else do we have?
It's a funny how you say comparison metaphor with the burger joint. I wouldn't have come up with that, but I'm not
Yeah,
good at
that
metaphor.
was great.
I'm very food oriented.
We can play one. I'd love to.
Oh man, I feel instantly humiliated whenever I see something related to chess.
So Vince is asking for a more specific TLDR.
Yes, we will get it next season. I mean, we aim to have all the issues fixed by next season. That's why we're taking the period off the next 2 weeks.
So the answer is we're trying to kind of manage the situation with kind of day-to-day things, but a real solution will come only after the season's gone. So we're trying, for instance, to ban accounts that produce a lot of traffic, right? So these kinds of things we're looking at, but so that we just get less traffic.
Exactly.
Someone said something. Yeah, sorry, I fidget a lot with the stuff I have around, so I'll stop using the pen.
You go ahead.
But you want him to click his ball pen on stream?
I usually fidget with the stuff I have around. This time it was this pen, so
Okay.
it's a dinosaur if you want to take a look at it. Oh, you can.
There's
Oh, it's so cute. It almost looks like a Cleanosaurus NFT.
Oh,
there's been
yeah.
a
Feels like
little bit of a backlog in questions, so I want to go back.
All
for
right.
sure.
Pheasant Pluck has asked this earlier. Are you guys still not worried about common CFSP? I can't. Mika or Mycar, BaFin, AML, KYC, and such. I sit in Wombat chats daily, and I see members from sanctioned locations talking and buying and trading and playing games, cashing out. I worry about the ramifications of this long term. I'm an elected official. I don't want EU Commission to come after me for a trade done via Wombat over sanctions issues. So yeah, that's a very interesting one, actually. So there is a few things that I think we'll have to revisit based off of more recent regulation in terms of maybe, let's say, Atomic Hub, right, and trading.
Mm-hmm.
So far, mostly the stance has been that if it's decentralized and you're just, quote unquote, just providing a front end for an infrastructure that's generally decentralized, you're not under regulatory scrutiny, right? So from a kind of trading perspective. So that's why you can go on, I mean, it's kind of the same trading, let's say trading an NFT on Atomic Market, on the Atomic Market infrastructure that's on chain, right? Versus trading a token with somebody on a decentralized exchange, right? Pretty much the same thing. The second thing is about basically handing out rewards to people, and from a kind of AML and also terror financing perspective, right? These are two different things, obviously. And these things typically don't change with new regulation, right? The base principles of this don't change, right? So we've had our lawyers check back in the day when we started the whole reward system, and then we also had them recheck later, right? After AML, what was that, 5 or whatever, came out in Europe, and from our lawyer's perspective, that's never been an issue, right? With the way we do things, that we don't have to kind of KYC our users and exclude people from, like explicitly exclude people from countries that are sanctioned or not supported, right? So just like many countries do that, or many services do that by saying in the terms and conditions, basically, you're not supposed to be from there, or you need to check if you're actually allowed to do this, right? There's a little bit of a kind of gray zone, but since we don't have any kind of deposit, right? You can't deposit to withdraw. This would be a clear-cut AML case, but we don't have that, right? You can't get a reward by just depositing money, or you can't get money out by putting money in, right? So this is like for crypto casinos or whatever. This is always the case where you have to cash in to cash out, and even they're typically not very much worried about this. But we regularly check, like the TLDR here is we regularly check with our lawyers whether we need to adjust anything. Might be a good time to actually, so thanks for bringing this up, might be a good time to actually do that again and revisit a few things that we've had in place.
Interesting. What
and
does
there
it
was
mean to be official, an elected official? Like you are
that's
part
cool.
of. Sorry.
It's cool to have people who are insiders, kind of, right? But I don't think that from a kind of pure consumer perspective, there's ever going to be a thing, right? So when, for instance, I've always thought that when Royal came out, that's one of my favorite examples of um, of NFTs that are clear-cut securities, right? When they issued NFTs that would have you participate in the royalties of songs, right? That was Royal.io. It was really cool, right? They had the service you could basically just buy into a song, and then so I still have some NFTs from back in the day, right? Because I like that idea. And then you can listen to your song and you think like, hey, so I'm getting paid for listening to this song, right? It's kind of cool. And then but it was clear that these NFTs are promising a return, right? A payout in cash. So that's very much a security, an unregistered security. But these were easily tradable on OpenSea or wherever, right? So fine, but I mean, what happens? Like, who's at risk, right? Whose fault is it that you could buy them, right? So I never thought that just by myself actually buying these, let's say on a secondary marketplace, I could get into issues with a regulator or whatever, simply because it's not up to the consumer to actually check whether this would actually violate any regulatory guidelines or whatever. Which is also funny because there's supposed to be terms and conditions for all these things, right? Nobody ever knows about them or reads them to begin with, because there might not even be a website for these things to read up on these terms and conditions, right? But the terms and conditions is what defines kind of all the legal framework for like who owes what to whom. So it's actually quite funny. I also wanted to bring this up by Vince. Total change of topic. But we earlier spoke about Wombat Realms, and Vince brought this up. Speaking about Wombat Realms, do I get compensated for my Realms sidekicks? Sidekicks, plural. It is unfair that I bought the sidekick and it's on max level now, and I can only use it for a few NFTs. I will never recoup the wax I spent. I was sold on this idea of more buildings, more towns, more cities and vehicles, and etc., the future potential and development on this collection. I suppose, yeah. So that's a difficult one in general, because there was unforeseen things that we couldn't have kind of anticipated, that created this issue, right, with Wombat Realms, aka the RAM price on EOS. That was the problem. So we would have done more, and this is kind of the development that we've put into Gamer Cave that would have gone into Wombat Realms, right, with more things there. So this could basically count for anything. So one thing is that we can obviously not compensate everyone for anything that we've ever done, right? So if it's like somebody buying a token or whatever it is, right, and then saying, "Oh yeah, I bought this at this price, and now it's this price, and now I need to be compensated." This cannot work, right, from a kind of principle perspective. So just because there was a sidekick for a collection, right? It's still a sidekick for the collection. Still does what it's supposed to do, and yeah, there might have been more NFTs, and then at some point this needs to stop, though, right? So at some point, you're gonna have to kind of say, okay, this is enough utility, and it's not going to go any further than that. So by principle, we have to say that we cannot compensate people for buying a thing that ended up not having the effect that they wanted it to have. So as harsh and as tough as this sounds, right? However, obviously we can talk about some okay, how can we improve the situation for anyone who has been holding Wombat Realms, who has bought a Wombat Realms sidekick, who has leveled them up, right? Is there anything that we can do with Wombat Realms down the line? Might even be as simple as, okay, how about we migrate this to wax? It's just brainstorming here, right? So now we're aware of that issue. I personally haven't been aware of the issue that there's been kind of that some people who have been into Wombat realms are feeling like they're not getting a good, well, return. I don't mean return financially. I mean return in terms of utility of what they have bought, right? And then we can discuss that, and we can think about that. Okay, that was me. Now it's your turn, Santiago and Olga. You pick some questions that you want to answer.
Let's see. What was the last time?
Will this be the same for the EOS sidekicks if you look in the fortune teller? Yeah, well, so well, that's what we meant earlier when we said, hey, if we were to, let's say, drop EOS at some point, right? Because there's too little going on, too little of an ecosystem, whatever. Then we would look at finding a way of getting everyone. I don't want to say compensated, but giving everyone an outlook of what can be done, right? So that not all of these assets become worthless in one day. Because that's not what we want, right? It's not that we want to have to kind of devalue all the assets that we have here or there, right? That's never at all what we want.
So Las Vegas Ape says Atomic Hub has been broken for over a month. You can make any new templates. Have we given up on Atomic Hub? No, we have not given up on Atomic Hub. The thing is, well, we actually, the ticket is created, everything is ready, but we don't have devs working on it at the moment. As soon as we get a dev free app, after fixing all the Dungeon Master stuff, it will be the number one priority.
I wasn't even aware that it's not working because I never used the Atomic Hub frontend to make templates, to be honest.
Yeah, I told you like 2 weeks ago, like we have been aware of it. It hurts a little to say, yeah, I'm aware of it, but at the moment I cannot do anything about it. But
well, we have other issues that need to be prioritized.
I gotta be honest about it. Like, guys, I know of it. I do what we do. The devs also do what they can. But there are so many issues and so many stuff that we have to tackle that we have to do it one by one. And we cannot be all over the place doing this stuff.
On a side note, way to support your own products, Adrian. Hey. And publicly admit that.
No, I think it's totally fine, right? I think Atomic Hub is better for trading than, let's say, Nefty or NFT Hive, but I definitely prefer Nefty for creating templates and creating anything, to be honest. So I can be totally how do you say, unopinionated regarding that, just because it's the product that we run. To be very honest, I would prefer everyone going to Nefty blocks. Oh, look at that. Vielen Dank. I acquired a bottle of Coke Zero from my son, who recently discovered that he can just go to the mini supermarket that we have in our village, buy a bike. He can just go there alone, right?
Nice.
And now he just he's consistently thinking about, oh, when will I go to the supermarket next, and what can I bring? And he bought that from his own money, right?
Aww.
And he just got me.
How do you give him money?
He gets pocket money.
But don't you pay him, for example, if he cuts the grass or does
He's 6.
He's 6 years old.
But you can give him little tasks, like if he wants to, for example, wash the dishes, stuff like that.
Well, maybe I'll do that. But
what the hell were you doing at 6 years old, man?
No, for example, my girlfriend's little kids, they do this little stuff, like for example making their own bed, and they receive small amounts of money, so they
I
can buy their
think
candies and stuff.
making your own bed is kind of miles apart from mowing the lawn. In
I
terms
didn't
of
know
what a
he was
6-year-old.
6.
How often did we talk about my kids on stream?
But I didn't know who you were referring to.
All right.
I'm sorry, okay? No, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm going to have my own lawn
Mm.
and mowing company made up of 6-year-old kids.
Child labor, let's go.
Oh man. But it's a good. I mean, it's a good point. I don't want my kids
Maybe he gets the
to.
season payout. Yeah, you should have your kid running in the dungeon.
I do actually. I not sometimes dungeon master, but mostly they like playing games on my phone. Sometimes when we're somewhere and I don't want to kind of. I want to have my attention elsewhere. I let them play on my phone, right? And sometimes they want to play Bitcoin miner. So I always give them like, hey, yeah, you go ahead. You just get all these sats for me. So I kind of hardly ever
Oh my
play it
god.
myself.
Oh, what is this 5,000 euros charge on a banking card? That was not there before.
Yeah, that's the good thing about needing a fingerprint and stuff like that, right? So
Word.
I don't like face unlock because they can just do this.
Fair.
Um, but it's a valid point regarding kind of chores at home. But I think there's a philosophical thing to that, right? One is that you want them to grow up and have kind of some intrinsic motivation to do things without being motivated by external factors
Money.
like money, right? So I think that's actually very important. But on the other hand, it is good to basically say, hey, if you do this. So my parents used to do that for me when I didn't want to try certain food. They would say, if you try this zucchini or this fish soup or whatever, stuff that I've never tried before, you get 10 wasn't cent Pfennig, right, back then, or something like that. And that sometimes was a motivation to actually try out new stuff. So, but in the end, it all comes down to this: make your kids
this-
into a click farm, right? So give them just
There
enough
you go.
phones they can play all day. It's a pity that they prefer playing actual games. Or now my older son started watching Star Wars Rebels.
Are those
Because
Twitchy tights? Yeah.
it looks like it, right?
Mhm.
Um,
And Star Wars Rebels is a solid
Thank you,
pick.
Las Vegas Ape, for showing up. I hope you're doing great.
yeah, and I mean, we have to start with the things that are.
Oh,
Hi, Olga. We have to start
who
with the
killed
things
Olga?
that 6-year-old kids are supposed to watch. I think Olga.
I am so sorry. I. Oh, let's work.
I cannot hear you. Can you hear her?
Your sound is entirely muffled.
Better now?
No, not like a
No.
little bit.
Okay. Well, that's weird.
It's like you've been
I-
using a totally different mic before.
No, it's the same one. I don't know what's wrong, but long story short, I forgot about the hypersensitive side buttons on my mouse, and this happened. Apologies.
That's a great response. Thank you, Las Vegas.
Hack himself saying, personally, the gaming scene will shift. And we should talk about how, because actually that's what I was excited about to talk about talking. How do you say that? I was excited to talk about this today.
There we go.
Personally, the gaming scene will shift. That we gamers already hate the fact that base games trying to push $80, base games that aren't even complete. This will make people try out blockchain gaming more because it's about 50-50 already of wasting money on the game. Yeah, right. If you are to spend money on a game and then buy more kind of downloadable content, buy more in-app purchases and whatnot on top of that, then why spend so much money? And I mean, I get it. One of the main problem in the games industry is actually not that people aren't willing to spend money. It's the cost of producing these games, right? So that you have to sell more in order for these games to actually work commercially, right? And obviously in indie games, people don't care all that much. But it's crazy, right? And it's crazy because these budgets are 200 300 million easily for a AAA game, and then how do you recoup that, right? You have to kind of extract as much money as you can from everybody. So what's the solution, Olga?
Well, the gaming industry is looking at a number of things, right? So cloud gaming has been one of that. AI too, but more in the sense of, okay, we're cutting down costs in terms of key art, assets, production, that sort of thing. Then another way is that the kind of the main production centers moving elsewhere where the cost of labor is lower. So we already seen that with what's the company called? Mihoverse with Honkai Impact, Genshin Impact. They're coming from China and taking the parts of the traditionally strong American market and all over the world to then I know that the publisher is Tencent, but I forgot the name of the studio itself from the Black Myth Wukong. Then we have Stellar Eve. Then we're going to have a Korean shooter. So long story short, the markets are shifting. Kind of the game dev hotbeds will be changing, and everything will be in Xbox. And AI is going to be everywhere. That's about the summary of a 230 pages report that I read.
This is interesting. To be fair, cost-adjusted stuff like in the N64 era, cost-adjusted was over $80 back then. That's true.
Yeah.
But at least you got the game, the full game. That you could basically bet on this game to be finished, polished, and never get any worse, right, than that. And not have a kind of half-baked game, right?
And because it had a physical medium, the cartridge, that's why they were so expensive, because of the hardware manufacturing the cartridges or the CDs or whatever. You could like pawn it off after you were done. That
is true as well, right? GameStop.
Yay!
GameStop.
Did you see the new name for GameStop here in Germany? This is ridiculous.
Is there a new name?
Yeah, they pivoted and now it's like two company names in one, and because it's German words, it's like a kilometer long. And just whatever, man. Shouldn't even try.
This is a good question from Klee.
This is a weird question.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Those games we're talking until now, they will be like paid games, like IMX chain games. We need to buy them from other apps, or will be like Dungeon Master or other games in the PlayMine platform.
I think what they mean is premium versus free to play, but I'm not sure. No. It's
no. Sorry, I just had to laugh about the literal translation here.
Yes.
So with those games, there's typically a distinction between premium games, the games that you buy up front, right, where you spend some money,
full price tag,
and free to play games, right? And generally, in Web3, this has been a little bit of a back and forth, right? So you don't typically buy a copy of the game in Web3. What you sometimes buy is a game key or whatever NFT that you need in order to kind of be able to play the game, like in Axie Infinity. That's been a thing. It's not really a thing anymore, right? So you would typically go with a more like free-to-play approach with Web3 games, right? That there is a free-to-play component, and you don't have to buy the game itself. So it's not like the game copy or the game key is tradable on, let's say, Mutable or whatever. But it's the game is free to play, and whatever assets you have in the game is tradable from a Web3 perspective. That's the kind of more typical approach to Web3 gaming, right? Whether they're however they're created, right? So there could be, and there still is kind of the approach of, hey, how do we make game copies tradable, maybe via NFTs? But I think that's more of a kind of neglectable effect. I mean, to me, 2/3 of the revenue in all of gaming is not being made with premium games. It's made with free-to-play games and upselling with microtransactions and stuff. And I think that was 3 years ago or so. So
It's
probably nowadays
73% now on mobile gaming.
73.
Yeah, of the total global revenue in the entire industry.
Yeah, but also, I mean, if on mobile specifically, right? You've never had anything like a game copy.
Yeah.
That's mostly been a thing on consoles, for instance, right? And on desktops, but on mobile, you never had a game copy that you put the cartridge in or whatever, or you download the game and then you have a game key and activate this. But it's always tied to your account, so you can never ever transfer this, right? And that's always been kind of the thing with premium games, that you can transfer ownership of it, right? Because if you had a hard copy of it, yes, somebody could borrow this from you, you could sell it to somebody, you could pawn it off, whatever, right?
That's also one of the things that I wanted to mention. I mean, earlier in the chat, the people were shitting on Nintendo, and rightfully so, for the new Mario Kart, because this is dumb. But there is one thing that I think they're sort of kind of trying to bring back in the very weird backwards Nintendo way. But you can basically buy the card with the game. But what it does, it activates the game download on your device. So the game copy and the progress are not going to be tied to the account itself, or you just buy an empty. I'm not sure if it's the SD card or just the box itself with a download code of sorts. But this is what they're trying to do, basically give digital games the same sense of transferable ownership as before. Yeah, it is a key on the card, exactly. But again, very typical, stupid, convoluted way. But maybe this is gonna catch on. So.
Ketchup.
Yeah, anyway, would be super interesting to see how something like that could work in Web3. So does it mean that, I don't know, any sort of token mining and whatnot that the original owner did in the game, that it's not going to be an option for the next one, or something, that like all sorts of rabbit holes.
Yeah, that's gonna
you
be
can
awesome.
jump.
Right? You're gonna try to sell off something as an NFT, and then you'll have to look into the fine print of what has already been used with this and whatnot. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's usually your comments, the ones that make me laugh, Rising Dragons.
Oh,
Yeah, this is
putting
really
a
cool.
smile on Santiago's face.
Getting a summary of the stuff that you talk about.
Which one was the last one? That I can't find.
I always want to go a little bit into this, because I think that's very interesting, not just in the EU, because it's also going to happen outside, right? So there's been this whole charade going on with Apple versus Epic, right?
Oh yeah.
Continuously, but also there's a lot of other things that are going on when it comes to monetizing content. And App Store protection and all these things. And it's actually really interesting because, I mean, the EU tries to be progressive on this. Cool. Whether they have the right means of changing things, okay, well, that's yet to be seen. But imagine if there if there's all kinds of restrictions on how you can monetize digital content, right? And wouldn't that necessarily mean, maybe not necessarily, but wouldn't a solution for that be to actually make everything into NFTs, right? And that would be like basically ownership or having paid for something, right? So that you can basically sell it off to somebody else later on, and that would basically like this would solve this whole paradigm thinking of sorts regarding monetization. But it could mean that everything becomes Web3, right? Which would be really cool. Just on that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would. But I was gonna dive into kind of a slightly deeper thing regarding AI in games, right? Because that's been our very recent topic to a large extent. We've been dealing with that a lot, thinking about it a lot, whatever, building a lot around this, actually. So I think we should talk about this a little bit at least, because we've got about
Yes.
24 minutes left. We probably want to do a Twitchy Tides.
Oh, 24 minutes.
It's been a rush here.
Last stream, it went so slow for me.
Because there was so many questions regarding
Yeah.
Dungeon Master issues.
I
Yeah,
didn't
get
even
that.
realize we had 23 minutes left.
But it's also Olga's energy. Olga, we need you on stream more.
That means we need Olga on all the streams.
Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna have to bring some of that.
That's the
More
moment when
streams, I guess.
Olga removes herself from the
Yeah.
stream,
Bye bye.
and you will see her again in the stream next year.
So Wombat Uni win. So should I be talking about this, or Olga? Is there anything that you want to share, or like how do we approach this?
I
no
would
script.
say yes, it's totally improvised. Well, I mean, the news is out already that we are starting to work closer with user-generated games and the respective creators, right? So let me start, I guess, and then Adrian, you can extrapolate that onto what specifically it means for play, because I think we do have somewhat of a related question in the backlog. Long story short, I think what the good way of looking at that is the way you look at any sort of social media platform, right? When we moved on from Web 1, where the person who had the ownership of the domain and whatnot put the content out on the website, and for everyone else at home with their modems that make awful sounds, all they could do is consume. Web 2 happened where all of us, became the co-producers, co-creators, and putting content out. Now even monetizing that on some of the platforms, right? So what YouTube did for video content, what SoundCloud is doing for musicians who have no label backing them up, this is what we want to do for community created games, for like non-professional created games, let's put it this way, that are AI assisted or are entirely AI generated. And we're opening the first track for that with the signups for closed alpha. And those games are going to have play monetization. So if you ever had an idea for a game, today's a good day of a day as any to take the first step.
Yeah, so effectively, I mean, if you look at the white paper, this has been in there, right, since we published it for PlayMind, that we want to give people the possibility to make games just by prompting AIs. Originally, we said we want to be doing this down the line. Now we actually just been pushing harder on this specific one because yeah, we also realized that in AI you can never know when it's kind of ready enough, right? when you can, when the tech is actually good enough to hand this out to consumers, right, to end users. So we think it's actually about time, and we want to do that with a Web3 twist, right? So what we've been doing is develop games. I say develop, it's actually not developing games.
Just hit myself.
Vibe code.
Create games, make games without actually coding, right? Or without coding a lot, that are play activated, right? And the first step to do this is to define what does play token activation actually mean, and how can we do that? How can we kind of template this? So we have the first template. The first game will be launched this week, so you can test it. The game
This week?
itself has been entirely created with AI. It's not maybe it's not going to be the most exciting game that you've ever seen before, right? It's not going to be a what would you talk about, ODG, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be a playable game where you will have to play a level of a little side scroller, and if you win, you'll be entered into a raffle so that you can win something, right? And if you make it through the level, you will have to pay some play in order to enter this. And at the end of the day, all the play proceeds will be raffled out to one lucky winner every day, right? So that's kind of a first showcase of how we imagine AI created play activated games to actually work, right? And the good thing is that with this quote unquote template, we can actually make games by the hundreds. Or not we can make games, actually you can make games. Everyone can make games, right? So that's what we're going to be looking for, is people who want to make games with us that are play activated, and that we can basically just type up, right? And it's funny because since we started doing this a while ago, a few weeks ago, everybody in the company got into a big mood of vibe coding games. And one specific one that I really want to showcase this, because I think that the person who made this has spent a lot of time and a lot of iterations on getting there. I really want to show you that game that has been created by a person whose name we will disclose in a second. So you can
I was
guess.
playing that game right now. It's cool.
It's actually really cool. It's just here it is. So finally, somebody called that Wombat Dungeon Master, and this has been made by Pedro. Okay, and
Where are you, Pedro? Show up.
Yeah, be proud, right?
This is your moment.
It's really cool. I hope that you can see it all. Look, it has animations. It looks pretty. I think it looks pretty amazing, right? It looks better than 8-bit stuff. So now I'm this little wombat here, so I have to move, and I have to move into. Well, that's a little bit of a problem. I think I have to move up here without getting caught by the monsters, and I can actually kill them, which I only found out after a while, right? That you have these moves. Then you enter...
running away from them. What's
what
that?
the hell is this? I'm trying to fire. I'm not sure what this does, but oh, I'm down. Yeah, okay, I leveled up. That was good. So it will need a few more animations, but it's already an entirely working game.
Amazing, really.
And I can basically crush these monsters. I'm supposed to collect all the stuff that's in here, and the only thing that I have to take care of is the dungeon is collapsing, just like the actual dungeon and Dungeon Master. And thanks to you, Santiago.
That was a bad joke.
And you have to collect everything before the dungeon actually collapses. I have no idea what this fire actually does, but
you're on fire.
I'm on fire. Yeah, so you have to make it through levels and so on. It's really cool. So imagine this being play activated, right? So you can actually unlock stuff in the game for play, and we can basically make these kinds of games, multiple of these games every day, eventually hundreds if not thousands of these games every day, right? So I find that really, really cool. I'm really excited about this. And we're basically just allowing people to make games, and maybe that's gonna be our goal is to make that part of the Playmind platform, which still is called Wombat app nowadays, right? But that you can basically make your games and get these games published in the Wombat app, right? So that you have an audience for this. People are actually um, see these games, they can play them. Might be casual games, might be more complicated games. Actually, this is like the game that we're going to be launching first is going to be a simpler game, right? So like I said, it's just a side scroller. I don't really want to show it, not to spoil the surprise here, but Pedro's game is going to be like maybe that's also going to come out with some play activation at some point. And yes, we will also clean out the dead games in the listings. And no, this is not a side scroller. This is the game that this is the dungeon game that Pedro created. The side scroller I don't want to be showing because that's supposed to be a little bit of a surprise. So yeah,
Maybe we could reply to Beans.
I think that's pretty amazing. And we're gonna have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of games effectively integrated with the play token, right? Because it's going to be very easy to deploy these with a play token activation. That's what we're working on, this pipeline of essentially creating a game using AI, adding assets that are AI generated. And I literally made this. I made a Super Mario game last week because we had the Switch launch, right? And it took me maybe 30 minutes to make a fully playable Super Mario game. It was amazing, right? So that's you're all going to be able to do that. We all want to see your games. We all want to see what you're up to, what kind of games you would create if you could, right? There's going to be a ton of limitations initially, but it's going to be really exciting because there are so many things that can be done already, 2D, 3D, and then add assets to this. So we're going to be improving this pipeline. But first of all, we want everybody to be part of this pipeline and see kind of what kind of games you would create, how you would use the play token in them, and then if we will see kind of what the best games are. Obviously, there's going to be some community votes on that. And then these will actually end up in the Wombat app, visible, playable by the public, right? Which I think is going to be really, really cool. And thousands of IP lawsuits coming, right? If you say like, hey, I want a game that was like a Super Mario, yeah, that's going to be very interesting.
I think the biggest challenge in there, really, I mean, I also made something, but obviously it doesn't look as good as what Pedro did, is knowing exactly what you want, but not in terms of, hey, I want a game like, I don't know, Icewind Dale. Yes, I am that old. Know exact mechanics, what you want to do, and experiment. And yes, Choco Crypto, everyone can develop a game there.
Not develop, right? You're not actually
Vibe
developing
code.
it.
Vibe code.
You can create
sort
one.
of. Yeah. But yeah, you can absolutely make it. Again, none of us here really, we don't come from Ubisoft or whatever, right? We've none of us are professional game designers, let's put it this way, and we still managed to put something out that was at least minimum viably fun product.
So, two things. Maybe we should start the Twitch Dates.
Oh yeah, we have a few more questions pending. I want to attend to those.
Yeah, maybe this one is related. Maybe we should reply to Beans.
But something happened with my share screen config, and it doesn't order the tabs by last visited anymore, and I don't know why. So I'm always having a hard time finding the right tab when trying to share something.
There we go.
Is Las Vegas
Um,
Ape still here? Vegas.
Probably streaming by himself.
Oh,
Could be, but for regarding the agentic layer, we do still want to do that, right? It's just that for for us, it made a lot of sense to showcase the sort of like a final vision in a more tangible way, right? That would also add utility to play already, in addition to everything that we want to migrate over. Because the goal is not to be another AI agent project, right? The goal is to kind of flip the value creation in game dev, right? But also using AI in ways that surpass just AI agents. And this is why we're going to do that. On this game created by Pedro, how the play tokens are going to get utilized. This was just to show you how relatively easy it is to kind of make something that works, that has an end goal, that has a lot of interesting mechanics, right? In those games specifically, ultimately it's going to be up to the people, right? It could be the raffle mechanic, it could be the power-ups, it could be the traditional free-to-play stuff like skip the waiting time and whatnot. But I think we have a few templates in mind, as you said, Adrian, that the creators can use as a starting point.
Yeah, for now, also as an endpoint, essentially, because what we don't want, and we've tried that, is having people code up smart contracts with AI. No, we're not doing this, right? Especially when it comes to handling assets, money, whatever. We're not doing this. That's why we will provide the smart contracts. These will be standardized smart contracts, right? This is the way. This is the way the play tokens are being utilized in the game, right? We'll start with one template. We'll expand that to 2, 3, 4, 5 templates, maybe at some point 10, as in how play tokens can be used in the game, right? So basically unlock something by paying a certain amount, right? So that will be configurable by the creator of the game, or have a raffle of sorts, or whatever it is. There's a few others, like maybe a PvP mechanic, right, where you can kind of wager 10 play and the winner gets whatever, right? These things will be possible without having to create the smart contracts yourself. We will be deploying this. We will be sharing this, right? And we will make sure that the game is integrated properly with the on-chain mechanic, right? So I think that's gonna be really cool. It's gonna create a lot of usage for the play token, right? Because a lot of games will be play token activated and will be able to have shoot these games out on a daily basis. So originally, it's gonna take a little bit of a manual effort, but what we're working on is automating this pipeline so that anyone will be able to just go and create a game. And then there was a question. So I like that. Play my game copyright, and I pay you 20 copyright tokens, which you can use to overrule the copyright law. Obviously, there's a lot of game IP that doesn't violate any copyrights, right? Or game IP that you can create with AI.
This is a good question. Especially, I mean, people right now are facing like, why should I pay to play these kind of games that maybe they won't have the best quality? So, do I play a game that I earn from, or am I playing a game I have to pay for?
Having to pay right away is not a prerequisite, right? This is what we used as an example mechanic of how play could be integrated. in essence, what it comes down to is really just how the creators themselves build the monetization within games. It is a good point that obviously we're not going to have double A, triple A quality spawn right off the start from this experiment, right? But I personally have followed a solo dev girl. She created entirely very cutesy sort of Animal Crossing style like sorting game for mobile using just free AI tools. It looks fantastic. There's dynamic lighting, there's seamless textures, there's everything, and she's not like a developer herself in any sense. So for the quality, it can be upscaled for sure.
Why would Vince is asking, why would players pick this game to spend their time on? How sustainable are these mini games? There are so many games out there right now, and no doubt it's a very competitive market. I doubt the longevity and sustainability of these games, hence it will only bring limited value. I mean, you could ask that to any game, effectively, right? Why would you play this over something else? You could ask that about Roblox, for instance. Roblox, I think, is a very good example because
Roblox
most
is
of
cool.
most of the games in Roblox are user generated, right? So why would anyone want to play this over something else? Well, maybe because of that, right? Or maybe just because they don't want to start looking for another game. They just want to play something that's readily available. There's a lot of reasons why you would play one game over another, right? Maybe because you can win something. Maybe even if you can't, you would still play it, right? So I think that's a big and loaded question, especially when it comes to casual and hyper casual games, right? So long as the typical answer is so long as people can get distracted over it, it's good enough, right? And I mean, if people think, oh, they are Dungeon Master fans, right, and they want to try out the game that Pedro has created, well, then they're gonna play it for a few days, and maybe then they will stop playing it. But that's the whole point of this whole AI generated game thing, right? It might very well be that these games have a very short lifespan, and then you'll want to play something else. But then there's going to be 100 new games that you can play, right? So I think that's actually this endless stream of content. Yes, we don't have a shortage of content overall, right? But then you look at where's the creativity coming from in gaming? Where has the creativity been coming from for the last 20-25 years overall, actually, right? So how did all the major game genres and how did all the major game combinations or crossovers come upon? They either have been coming from indie game studios or solo devs, right? Or they have been or they've been coming from modders, right? Dota has been a mod. The Counter-Strike was a mod.
League of Legends.
League of Legends is a clone of Dota, right? So
It started as Dota mod.
I mean,
this has all like the real creativity is coming from the people, right? So what you're going to see is you might not want to see yet another Pong clone, right? But if somebody from the community comes up and says, I want to combine Skat with Pong, most people won't know what Skat is. It's a German card game, right? But let's imagine this, and then you'll come up with a cool concept of how you can combine a very traditional German card game with Pong or whatever, right? Maybe it's going to be beer pong, actually, whatever, right? There's no limit to creativity because it's going to be incredibly easy to actually make at least the first version of a game, right?
Exactly.
And yes, maybe Pedro would disagree to that having been super easy, but it allows you for very rapid iterations, and you can make a lot of games. You can make maybe a clone of this, but in a different setting, right? Or you can make crossovers of different game principles and whatnot, and that's what's going to foster a lot of creativity, and that's where I think people will be really interested in playing these games.
Agreed. I mean, you don't even have to look at a lot of legacy examples. Just go on Nexus Mods, right? See how much content community members are putting out because they're passionate about this. How many of them learned game development somewhat because they wanted to create something for game X. I don't know. In most of the cases, it's either Skyrim or Fallout, I guess. Which is also a good example. It's the community creators that kept carrying the Elder Scrolls franchise and a lot of others for, 13 years and whatnot. So we think there is there is value definitely in considering that, because there can be so much untapped potential in kind of non-professional quote unquote game dev. It's just that people feel demotivated to put the time in and learn the tools, but this could give them a more kind of visual perspective on what their ideas could bring to life, and maybe this is something that they want to pursue and improve and put more of out.
And
This
make
has been
them
lovely, but I have a
Make them-
meeting with
Yeah.
our dear developers, so I have to go.
All right. Thanks, Santiago. We'll do the Twitchy tides and then we'll be off because I have a meeting coming up myself.
Have a good one, guys, and this is the pens, just so I can annoy you a little bit. Okay.
Ah.
See you. See ya.
We'll do bye. Thanks, Santiago. So we'll do the usual. We'll do the top 5 players, and the top player who holds a Wombat skin get a promo box each. So let's go. I said it too fast, so it shouldn't take all too long.
Oh man, this looks a lot more diverse than I remember it.
You've been gone for so long.
I know. Like I said, it's been 84 years. But yeah, I'm genuinely very excited about seeing where this is gonna take us, because I honestly, GG, AKCP, Crypto Infinity, Valkyria, Choco Crypto, Prince Paradox, just stop. yeah, GG. I've always wanted to be in game dev, I guess, and just seeing that a couple of prompts is all it takes to create at least one level of an RPG with a fog of war mechanic and whatnot. Like, I actually felt somewhat proud of myself, even though the AI did the heavy lifting. What is this unsolicited ASMR from the cable feedback?
No, I just wanted to paste this for okay.
Rewards distribution.
Yes. Because if I don't do it immediately, I'll never do it. Okay, let's do a raid because I gotta run as well.
That is true.
And so, who do you want to raid today?
Me? That's a good question. Or the chat. Chat, who are we raiding today?
I need people to tell me.
I mean, let's just see.
Sensei Bullrog is live. Seems. NFT dealer is live.
I think, I mean, that was one of my go-to, but we've got Quadrails Art, DSM Bam streaming as well, and I think we haven't rated Quadrails Art for a while.
How would you
Sam,
know?
maybe because I'm hanging out in the backstage, watching everything that you do.
Twitch Tides TV. Okay.
Yeah, Sagaros is also live.
Okay, let's rate Zagaros.
Awesome. Then,
All right, everyone.
2 hours, my back. But it was good to be here.
I'm counting on you to come back next week.
God damn it. I'm always setting myself up for those things.
All right, everybody. Say hello to Zagaros. Have fun. And see you soon.
Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Okay. Sorry, I was too late. Now we're stuck with my decision to rate Zagaros. All right, everybody. See you soon. Have fun.
Bye-bye.